Hey, my name is Gabriel Bowman. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. This is a video I feel very passionate about. I feel like it has actually changed my life, and so I'm excited to get right into it. So let's do it. I wanted to talk about the three words that have absolutely changed my life, and I'm going to get into what those three words are, and they're guaranteed to change your life too if you adopt them. But first, I want to talk about something we all can relate with. We've all felt like maybe at some point in our life there was that event, right? Where you knew that if you did this certain thing that you would get ultimately very positive results. It could have been talking to a girl, it could have been applying for that job or going to that interview, it could be anything. It was just that whatever it was, there was a little bit of fear behind it. And that's why you didn't do it. That's why you didn't act on it. And that has maybe stemmed largely from past trauma that you've internalized subconsciously, or whatever it might be, or someone else's story, someone else's limiting beliefs, because we listen to other people more than actually God or the people that actually matter, right? And I just wanted to start by reading a couple notes that I wrote down. You'll see me kind of jump down here and there, and if you're ever wondering why, that's why. So let me get into this. It says, what I wrote down right before this was, when you are afraid of consequences, whether that be rejection, embarrassment, or even just looking stupid, your brain tends to prioritize avoiding social threat over pursuing what you actually want. So often, like whatever that social threat may be, our brain's not going to let us get through it because it's afraid. It's got all these different preconceived ideas based off of past experiences, like I said, or things that other people have said. And so the big gap between us achieving what we want in life is just that, fear. The whole entire processing system of the amygdala or the limbic system. Um, and but the problem is that avoiding these social threats, not making the risks or taking the risks out of a couple of fears, like what if I look stupid? What will they think? What if this goes badly? Or what if I regret this? Those kinds of things are ultimately going to hold you back from achieving the dream life, the life that God has set out and prepared for you. And so, not doing those things are very negative. This creates hesitation and can prevent you from achieving or creating a lot of change in your life, which I think that's what we all want. I remember a couple of years ago, I took a picture of myself. Maybe I'm not editing this video, but you could probably find it in past videos. And I took a picture of myself when I felt I was at my lowest point. And I knew that I wanted to change a lot of things in my life, but I'd recognized that I'd have to give up so many things. I'd have to make some serious jumps. And that was one of the scariest things I could ever even face. But just remembering just some experiences from my childhood, I was able to make some serious shifts towards my own future and my own dreams and what I believe the life is that God was preparing for me at that time. And so many wonderful things happened. But what I've learned is that sometimes we do all of this even when the consequences are minor. And that's where it's really a problem. Like sometimes we have something really big that we want, and the consequences might be a little bit larger. The fear might be a little bit worse, depending on how great this is or how much of an impact this thing will have on your life. But when it is the worst, perhaps, is when it is preventing us from doing basic things like talking to that girl, or like applying to that job, like I said at the beginning, or like writing the book, or even posting the first video. Sometimes that fear is what keeps us bound. But I just remember that from a young age, it's kind of a funny story to go along with it. We had this school I was supposed to go to. It went from kindergarten to sixth grade. And unfortunately, right before I could possibly even go to that school, they tore it down. And so all that was left for me in the area was this really low funded school. There's a lot of trouble there. Most of the kids came from divorced families, very broken families, a lot of refugees. And I'm not, trying to throw any shade on any groups of people or anything like that. But there's just a lot of different kinds of people and a lot of struggling people at the same exact time. So there's a lot of poverty there. And what comes along with that is sometimes some questionable behaviors from certain kids. And I had recognized from a young age, as I started making friends, that not a lot of them had the best intentions. A lot of them wanted to do these kind of crazy things. And unfortunately, being a young boy, that's kind of like the tribal gang mentality where you want to follow along. And I remember one day they asked me to steal a bunch of these like chocolate milks from this refrigerator during this giant assembly. And I knew that I could get into a lot of trouble, but three words came into my mind. It was something that I'd heard them, this mantra that I'd heard them repeat over and over and over again. And I didn't realize that these three words that were about to negatively impact my life would actually very positively impact my life later. And those words were, I don't care. I just want to write down that what I learned from a young age while spending time with troublesome kids is that all it takes is three words, a mantra, and that fear turns to available agency. I realized that that's really the goal in life is agency. Just by saying, I don't care, I had found this unlocked ability. It's like my brain kind of opened up and said, okay, do it. You have full permission. Even though I'm afraid, I now have permission to act upon what I want, even though the outcomes may not be the best. And I stole the milk. And yes, I got in trouble. And yes, I learned from my lesson, but also more so, I was able to use the same exact skill that I learned later in my life to do really good things. In fact, I used it for a while also to get myself to stand out amongst the crowd. Like, my friends would dare me to do something or to eat something off the floor or whatever it might be. And yes, it could be bad and you could be taken advantage of. But to me, it was a sense of pride to say, oh, I don't care. I can do whatever. And these kids thought I was the coolest person ever. They thought it was awesome. And I made a lot of friends. And my friends just kind of developed this idea of me that I was willing to do anything it took. And that could be really negatively taken. But I just want to talk about some things that I observed in that. I wrote that by saying this, you change the rules you operate under or that your brain operates under. The old rule was, I need to avoid looking stupid. I need to avoid doing this, which is very tribal instinct. I need to avoid getting near that tiger because he's probably going to eat me, even though the reward might be a cool looking tiger pelt jacket. Sorry, that might be offensive to some people, but I just thought I'd say it. But now the new rule is looking stupid is an acceptable cost of doing what I want. Oof, let that simmer for a second. Even though this thing might make me look stupid, even though some people are going to think I'm dumb for doing this, this is what I want. This is the gap. If I don't do this thing now, then I won't achieve the dreams that I want. And I felt that way with YouTube. You've probably felt that way with many things in your life. And you could probably think of an example right off the top of your head right now. If I do this thing, yes, I might look stupid. Yes, my friends might think I'm dumb. Yes, it might be embarrassing. But ultimately, do I just avoid doing this so that I don't look stupid and then also have to suffer the cost of not living a life that is desirable? I don't know if that even made sense, but you get what I'm saying. You're not literally making yourself stop caring. It's important to care, and I'm not trying to say, hey, you should stop caring about everything in life. That's not the point. By saying this, you aren't convincing yourself that you don't care and that it doesn't like reprogram your brain to stop caring, okay? You're just reducing the importance you assign to the threat. Okay, yes, the amygdala is a very survivalistic side of the brain. This was meant for literally hunting and having to deal with these major risks where the consequences are death. But now applied in this modern day setting where we don't have to face that most of the time, we need to find a way to override it because it's preventing us from achieving the greater things. Instead of analyzing every outcome you make, decisions. Whoa, let me reread that because I was reading it kind of wrong. Instead of analyzing every outcome, you make decisions and act. I think that's a really big thing. I want to just kind of outline some things that what will change in your life if you were to adopt these three words, these mantras. And you can find a way to adapt it however you want. You can recreate this mantra. It doesn't have to be what I'm saying. It can be whatever you feel is a little bit more personal to you, right? But um, I really do believe that the things that change in your life when you adopt a mantra like this is number one, reduce self consciousness. So many people are just overly self conscious and so self conscious that they don't get themselves out there. People don't get to find out who they are. You don't socially bloom. Next, it increases behavioral freedom. This is how you become a high agency person. I really do believe that there's multiple levels of agency, and some people have more agency than others. And it's all based off of what you allow yourself to do or what you don't allow yourself to do. Or another way to achieve low agency would be if you were like getting into drugs, getting into alcohol, whatever it might be, getting into debt. These things create bondage in your life and not agency. Where the opposite, not ever spending money on things you don't have money for in the first place, right? Not getting into debt. Or trying to think of another really good example, but you get what I'm saying. Those create more agency, or not getting into drugs, or creating these mantras in your mind to override the amygdala and limbic system so that you do more than you think about what could happen. Next, you build evidence of competence. What do other people see in you if you can just get up and do things because you know it's the right thing to do? You train your brain after seeing positive results repeatedly for things that you were initially afraid of, and now you can handle just about anything. Okay, and people are going to recognize that. People are going to see that. It becomes your image. It becomes your brand, that this person is not really afraid of anything. And it's a very respectable trait. It's a very, very respectable skill to being a high agency person. Last, you strengthen your tolerance for embarrassment. Let's get real. Life is embarrassing. And if we are afraid of being embarrassed, then we refuse to live life. And I think that's a really important note to really internalize and think about. If we avoid being embarrassed, then we never have the first conversation. If we avoid being embarrassed, then we don't post that first video and we don't get to see the fruits of our labor. We can't sell that product we feel so passionate about. We can't do anything because everything is behind that paywall, which is just doing it. It's about your ability to bounce back fast. All right. When most of the time in a social setting or in whatever setting you can think of, that embarrassment is a very temporary thing. Yes, it comes. It happens. It doesn't matter. We say stupid things. Everybody does. But people don't think about the stupid things. It's what you do afterwards. Someone who does something really dumb is going to walk away and maybe make life a little bit more embarrassing. Maybe they get a little bit awkward. They kind of close off and everybody feels the vibe in the room. That's not the way to go about it. It's your ability to bounce back. If you actually practice this over and over and over again, then you will have a greater capacity or a greater tolerance for that embarrassment, and you can walk out of that confidently. And that's what people remember, how you left the situation when you brutally biffed it, right? Your subconscious brain can't tell when you lie to it, okay? When you say, I don't care, it's important to remember that your subconscious brain doesn't recognize it. Anything presented as fact will be transmitted or it will be put into the system as fact, even though you know that it was a lie, right? The truth is you actually do care, but subconsciously you don't know that. Just by saying, I don't care, it almost puts you into a different mode, shifts you into sports mode, and now you can access greater levels and heights than you ever could before. I'm trying to see. Maybe I'll kind of close off here because I don't want to talk too long. Just want to close with one final note. I wrote that fear is allowed to exist, but it doesn't have to take or get the final vote. Fear is allowed to exist, but it doesn't get the final vote. Okay, I want you guys to remember that. The goal of this life is to achieve high agency. Because agency is what makes us alike unto God. And I really do believe that when we achieve this high agency, it's pleasing to our Father in heaven. What father out there wants his child to stay less than him? And I'm not trying to become blasphemous here, but I'm just saying, in the nature of a father, he wants his child to become the very best he or she can. So by achieving high agency and by becoming a little bit more like our Father in heaven, not only do we have the ability to chase the dream life that God has for us, to chase those talents and actually put them out there, to avoid lust and temptation and addiction of all sorts. But now we can be alike unto God and understand Him a little bit better, at least in the slightest. I really do believe that this is a skill we all need to tap into. And if you want to reach your dream life, this is a great place to start. Go out there, and the next time you see that girl or that guy and you're afraid to talk to them, just repeat it in your mind. I don't care. My mind doesn't get the final vote. My fear doesn't get the final vote. The adversary doesn't get the final vote of my fate. And I get to be the hero of my story. So what I do in this moment will determine everything in my life to come. Even if this doesn't work out, greater things will come from making this decision right now. My name is Gabriel Bowman. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate and love you guys all so much. I do feel like this video can help you, and I think it will bless your lives if you really take action upon the things that I've just taught. And if you guys find anyone that might benefit from this, go ahead and share this video. I also have an app. I know I'm just laying out a ton of stuff. I have an app to help you reprogram your mind and oh my gosh, I can't talk right now. I've developed an app to help reprogram your mind, give you a 24/7 coach, and help you become a high agency person. The link is in the description down below. Love you. See you in the next video. Bye.